I'm not sure if you know the interview process for like software engineers is
Tell me
the
about this. I
reputation.
want to know about
The,
this.
yeah, the reputation for it is pretty scary because you have to do typically you do like a phone screening
Okay.
where that's essentially to weed out and this isn't any one company I'm talking about here. It's pretty much standard across the board with some flexibility and some differences for each one. But typically there's a phone call with a recruiter that saw your application and wants to make sure you're like a real human that's not crazy and that you have like people skills. And then they
Yeah.
schedule like a phone screen or a text screen is what they'll call it, where you typically would do a live coding exercise, which is essentially like I describe it to my girlfriend as like a puzzle, but
Okay.
like a software engineering puzzle, like a math problem to solve. And it's live and you don't know the question beforehand. So it's a little high
It's like
pressure.
on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're timed. You have like 1 hour and the first 10 minutes is a greeting, and then you have to solve like two of these in 20 minutes each. And
Wow.
you may have a solution, but it may not be the optimal solution. So then you have to talk
Okay.
about like what you would do to improve this. You have to know how efficient your solution
Mm.
is. There's this thing called the big O notation, and the big
Okay.
O basically measures the efficiency of your algorithm. So that's the first part, and that's essentially to weed out anyone that's like not even supposed to be there. And that part's hard. Like it's
Yeah.
tough.
I couldn't do that. I'm not a
And
software engineer, but
it's tough and you have to really prepare for your
okay.
interviews if you're a software engineer. And like it it's a lot of the skills are the same, but
Mhm.
a lot of people in the tech industry will argue that it's like a separate skill entirely, like interviewing and then the things that you do day to day
Oh,
are like not the best representation, but I mean, it is what it is.
so if you're doing it
Um,
live, can you Google search errors or no? You have to know all this
no,
stuff.
some interviewers will say like, so when you code, there's essentially like an autocomplete that will like suggest different functions that you may be trying to find. So if you forget something like that, some interviewers may be like, and if you forget, what exactly it's named or
Okay.
something, you can Google that. But typically, no. Typically, it's
Okay.
like, unless they say, and feel free to read up for a second on, this specific thing I'm asking you about in case you need a refresher. Uh,
Yeah.
but typically, like you don't Google anything. But yeah, so you get through the tech screen, which is tough, and then you'll have an on-site. And what the on-site is usually 4 to 5 hour long interviews. And a lot of times you can break this up over like 1 day or 2 days. And
Okay.
I went through the interview process with like a few of the larger tech companies, and it's usually two coding, which is the same thing as a tech screen, but like they just hit you from different areas. So like
Okay.
they want to, like for me for iOS, I need to have enough knowledge in like iOS specific topics and also like general software engineering algorithmic type questions. And then there would be like a behavioral interview where it's like, will this person fit with our team?
Mhm.
Are they good at communicating? And then there's a system design, which is my least favorite. And the system design is essentially a whiteboarding session where you're not coding,
Okay.
but they'll say like, how would you build Instagram? And you have to map out with diagrams like, okay, this is our database and I would call this class this, and our data would be fetched from here. And I think we could use this sort of pattern on our, like, it's very nerve wracking because I had an interview with a very large tech company that was
Okay.
like initially my dream to work there.
Okay.
And now looking back, like I'm so glad it didn't work out, but I made it to the on-site and
Mhm.
I felt good
Is
about
the
like,
on-site did you go to California for this?
no, since like the COVID thing happened,
Oh, COVID. Okay.
they'll call it the on-site. And in the
Okay.
past you would have been flown out. to the headquarters and do these in person, but it'd be a virtual on-site now. So like all
Okay.
the on-sites I did were virtual, but I had my systems design interview and my interviewer was 8 minutes late. And the entire time, like that system design interview is so tough because it's sort of a discussion where I'm leading the
Okay.
conversation as the interviewee, and I'm saying, so do you have a preference on whether I use this or this? And you're hoping the person gives you a little bit of like feedback. My interviewer barely said anything. It was just
Okay.
like, sure, go ahead. What do you think? And I'm like, it was so nerve-wracking. And I just wanted this job very badly. And um, at the end of the onsite, I thought like this could go either way. Like I feel pretty good about these two I did. I feel, iffy about this one, but maybe I'm thinking too much. And I got rejected and was like heartbroken. And then
Mm,
Spotify, that entire time I'm interviewing with all these different companies, had sort of I was talking to like two different recruiters. I think they were coordinating on who I was supposed to talk to. And I hadn't heard back from them for like 3 weeks.
okay.
And then I get like I turned down a couple offers that weren't like I just didn't see myself working there for whatever reason. And I got rejected from a couple as well that were like solid companies. And then Spotify, after that whole process, they reached back out. And my plan after, it didn't work out was, all right, I'm going to practice all of these concepts for the rest of
Mhm.
the year. It would this year. So like 2022, I was going to
Yeah.
just really like get back to my like 3 hours a day thing, maybe do like
Yeah.
an hour a day in the morning, like whatever it would be. My plan was to practice all year. And then at the end of the year, just give a giant push and like
Yeah.
apply everywhere, send out, all these different resumes and do some sample work for companies and really like make a push to get a new job. But I had still been fresh from the interviewing. So I was like, sure. And got in touch with Spotify and Uber actually, and
Okay.
interviewed with them like at the same exact time. And then the Spotify on site, I had scheduled it like 3 weeks away. So I had time to prepare for that. And the Uber was like the week after.
Okay.
So I did my Spotify on site and I just knew like the people that I interviewed with, and I can like even more so the people that I work with now
Hmm.
are incredible. And just interviewing with them, it was the
Wow.
opposite of the other experience that I had where the people were like, it felt like they were on your side. They wanted you to
Yeah.
succeed. And I had great conversations. And once I knew I got the Spotify gig, like I knew I was getting an offer, I'm like, I'm canceled the interview with Uber. Like I
Yeah.
think the Uber job would have been very cool,
Hmm.
but just thinking about the brand of Spotify and like
Yeah.
it's something I use daily and I just love everything they stand
Yeah.
for and I had such a good experience. I was like, I want this.